If you use AI to create writing or video content, are you the author or is the AI the author? This is a dilemma that obviously is arising and is going to continue to be an issue. And there's going to be many repercussions of this dilemma, both for people as individuals and legally, etc. In this, I'm going to be focusing more on the personal dilemma that writers, creators of any kind using AI tools have, because this, I think, is really important. I think it's getting in the way of a lot of people using the tools to their maximum effectiveness. So just to give a background on me, I was a writer and director in Los Angeles in the Hollywood film industry. The movie I wrote and directed came out in 2019 on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. I was going to direct my second movie in 2020. Pandemic happened. I ended up moving to Bali, and now I'm creating content with AI tools and all kinds of content, written, video, etc. And if you look on the short section of my YouTube channel, you can see a bunch of little shorts I made with AI tools just to give you a taste. And then I make them for clients as well now. So what comes up for a writer, a creator, an artist? I consider myself an artist, and if you're creating anything new, there's an aspect of art to it, whether you're doing a classical art like a painting or something or not. And the point is you are expressing yourself, you're creating something from you. Now, if the AI is creating part of that, who's the author and where does the line get drawn? It's blurry. And I think this is actually stopping a lot of people from using the AI tools, because they're like, if I use the AI tools, if I use a ChatGPT, for example, to write something, well, then I didn't write it. And then I'm not the author anymore. ChatGPT is. What's the point? Or anyone can use ChatGPT to write something. So I have no value in the equation, and it's not really my work. So I understand this perspective, and I had it at first. I also was resistant to, I was playing around with ChatGPT and just seeing what it can do, but I was reluctant to actually use it for any of my actual work. And then realized that I was being dumb, and that it was like ignoring a new technology that can really help. It would be the same as if when digital cameras, if I kept trying to use film cameras when digital cameras are so much cheaper, easier to use. And if I made my movie with a film camera, we wouldn't have had enough money to make the movie because it would just cost so much more. So in other words, and you can use obviously a lot of examples. Imagine if you just kept riding a horse and buggy instead of using a car. You get the point. But these AI tools are the next technology that's going to change creation, art, business, every industry. And so to ignore them is frankly just dumb. And if you look back in the 90s, there were a lot of people that were saying oh, the internet's just a fad, or it's not going to be a big thing. And obviously you have seen where the internet is now. So don't be one of those people, is what I'm saying, because what I realized is think of it as if you were working with other humans. Say you have a writing partner, if you're a writer, say a writing partner, or you have a writing room, like a writing team, or you have writing assistants. This is maybe a better way to think of it. Assistants. Think of the AI as an assistant. You can use an assistant to help you create your work, but it's still your work. And so in order to do that, I would say that you have to think of, how can I make something using AI tools that only I could make using AI tools? If someone else can make the same thing using AI tools, then yeah, you're not really an author. And literally the same thing, and not just a video, but the specific video that you're making, or the specific piece of writing. So if only you can make it using it, even though you're with AI tools, if it's only you that can make it and someone else with the same AI tools couldn't make the exact same thing, then you're still the author, because then you're still integral to that work, that creation. And so this is something I think that you always have to look at and ask yourself. It's not an easy line to draw, right? You do have to ask yourself, am I putting enough of myself, enough of my ideas, perspectives, opinions, emotions, personal experiences into my work that it could only come from me? And then you got to look at it. You got to look at how much did you actually put into it, how much ended up in the final piece, and how much of it could someone just take a similar prompt without your stuff in it, but just like this kind of story, and it would be similar. The AI would make something similar. So this is something to consider, but do it. In other words, but realize that if you're not using the AI tools, you're limiting yourself in the future. You're not, just in terms of speed, you're not going to be able to keep up with people using AI tools. You're not going to be able to output whatever it is, content, art, writing. You're not going to be able to output as fast as other people. So you're just going to lose the race. And then furthermore, what is possible for one person to produce is also enhanced by the AI tools. For example, look at the videos that I made in the short section with AI tools. If I didn't have AI tools, I couldn't make those same videos unless I had a big budget to either shoot them in real life or hire an animation team. But either way, it's not something I can make myself for almost no money. The cost of those subscriptions and all those tools are like $20 or less a month. So couldn't have done it without the AI tools. And then also the process is much faster, right? Because I'm using the writing tool to get not just the writing of the scripts, but also the prompts for the images, and then I'm making the images, and then I'm animating the images, and this is all happening way quicker. Even if I was an animator myself and I could use all the animation tools, still, it would be nowhere near as fast. It would take forever, comparatively. And let's talk about writing a little bit, because obviously right now the number one AI tool in the world by users is ChatGPT, which is a large language model, used for writing primarily, although obviously they're incorporating, there's other functions, right? They have the image generator DALL-E inside of it now and so forth. But obviously, primarily it's a text model. And this is something that people are relying too much on. Some people are relying too much on, and they're just putting in a simple prompt and taking what ChatGPT puts out and just copying and paste that and using that. I see that online in social media content. I see that in emails that I get and other even text messages. And I know, I can recognize it because I've used ChatGPT enough that I know how it writes if you don't modify it enough. So this is the case where the human is no longer the author. ChatGPT is the author. They're putting in a request, but then ChatGPT wrote it and they didn't put themselves in it. Now, for some use cases, like replying to email, a simple email or whatever, okay, who cares, right? That not a big deal. If you wrote it yourself, it would sound different because you're not ChatGPT, but it would be the same content. So in that case, who cares? But people that are actually writing things, if we go on Amazon and self-publishing, right, we can see books that were written by ChatGPT and they're absolute dog crap. And in the case of making a work, right, in that case, we can't just say, write a book about dogs and then just take that and try to sell it. It's not good, but also it's not you. You're not the author. So what I do is, and this maybe will be instructive, I've been using Claude more actually than ChatGPT because I prefer, it seems like I'm better at writing. It seems that I have a better command of narrative and storytelling. And so I like it better. I've been using that more lately, but try both and see what works for you. But I'll input my ideas and I'll have a brainstorming session with the AI. And I'll say, okay, I'm thinking about writing this kind of, for example, I'm just starting to work on a novel trilogy. And so I put in, I want to make a novel trilogy in this genre, and here are my ideas for it, right? And I'll put in a bunch of stuff, and then it'll then put out a bunch of other ideas. Be like, okay, like it gets what I'm trying to do, and be like, here's some other ideas for it, and then we'll just go back and forth, and I'll be like, can you give me some ideas for characters, or like what the second novel could be about, or this kind of thing. And I put in, this is what I'm thinking. Can you suggest some other ideas? So I'm just going back and forth brainstorming ideas. And this is key, and I'm going to go through more steps, but a key that I want to point out here is I'm breaking down the writing process into multiple steps, and I'm inputting and receiving from the AI in each step. So we're going through a process here. I'm not just saying the finished piece. And I think this is what people are doing, and that's why it's just getting ChatGPT crap, that they're not the author really. you got to break down the writing process the same way you would if you were writing something yourself, and you're just using this AI as an assistant to help you. And the AI, because the AI is really, first of all, it's really good at organizing ideas. So when I just put in a mess of ideas and I say, organize this, it's good at that. And then also it's good at research, like I want some stuff from like an ancient mythology that could tie into this. And then it'll give me a bunch of suggestions. Okay, here's some ancient Mayan mythology. Here's some ancient Middle Eastern mythology or whatever. And it'll give me a bunch of options. So it's like also good, very good for research assistant. So anyway, so we go back and forth with the brainstorming. Then finally I'm like, all right, I think we have enough here. Can you make an outline for we'll say the first novel, right? Whatever the thing is you're working on. And then it'll take all our brainstorming ideas that we have gone back and forth in this conversation, and it'll organize it into an outline. Like I said, it's really good at organizing information. And so it'll organize an outline, and then I'll give my notes. No, I don't like that part. Like I'd like, how about something like this? And what about this? And I don't like that part. And can you come up with some other ideas for that? And then it'll come up with, okay, I like that. And right. So we're going back and forth, and then we're working on the outline together. Right. And then after getting an outline, then I'm going to start to break down into smaller pieces and get more detail. So it's, okay, we got an outline for the whole book, but now like we need to really get into the chapters themselves. We need more detail about what's actually going to happen in the chapters. Let's take a step by step. We'll go into chapter 1, etc. Anyway, we keep going to this, and then once we get to the actual text, by the time we get to the actual text of the book or whatever the piece is, there's so much of my hand in it, both my ideas, but also my sculpting of their ideas and the way that I want to sequence things or put things together or tie things together. And there's so much of my hand in it that by the time we get to actual writing, I'm already the author. You know what I mean? Like, it's already my thing by the time we get to the actual text, because there's so much of me in it that no one else could have written it even before we get to the text. And this is, I think, important, and what I would encourage you to do is go through these different steps of the writing process, and whatever your process is. You don't necessarily have to follow mine exactly, but go through your process, and it should already be indelibly yours, like undeniably your work before you even get to the text. Just what's in there could not come from anyone else, because there was so much, you went through this whole process where you put so much of your ideas and feelings and experiences and perspectives and whatever into it, that by the time you get to the text, it's already yours, and there's no denying that. And then once you get to the actual text, again, it's going to be a similar process. Okay, put out a first draft. AI puts out a first draft. Okay, no, I'll go in there, rewrite, edit. Okay, here's this. Now you give me notes on mine. It'll give me notes on my version, and we keep going back and forth. And ideally, at a certain point, it will start to be able to write more like my style, not just my content from the whole writing process, outlining process, but it'll hopefully be able to write my actual style. It's still not there yet, but it's getting better in terms of mimicking writing style. Even inputting other stuff you wrote, right, and saying mimic this style is helpful. But again, it's still not amazing in my experience, of just like completely mimicking a style of writing. If you put in your style, making it sound exactly like you, it'll pick up certain things and insert it, and so there will be somewhat of your style. It won't sound exactly like you wrote it, but it's getting better, and maybe you can figure out how to make it do that. So I don't take, just because I haven't cracked that exactly, it might be possible already, but either way, the models are getting better, and that'll get better. So anyway, let me wrap up here. And this goes for any kind of process, right? Not just writing. If you're doing video or images or art, you still have to put in and go through a whole process so that you're still coming out with something that only you could create with the AI tools, and no one else using the same tools could create it. If you can do that, you are setting yourself up to win in this future, right? Because we are entering an age where if you're not using AI tools, you're just going to be outproduced. No, there's nothing to debate about that. You're just going to be outproduced. And what that looks like is yes, both getting jobs, if you're someone like it's going to work for someone else, jobs, meaning an actual job, full-time job, freelance, but also if you have your own business or whatever that is, you're just going to be outproduced by people using AI tools. But also, if you're just using AI tools, right, as replacement and you're not the creator, you're not the author, you're not putting enough of yourself in it, well, that stuff is just going to get lost in a sea of mediocre AI-generated content. And that's just going to be trash. You got to do both. You got to use AI tools, but this whole video has been about putting enough of yourself in it so that you are still the author. It still only could come from you. And that work is going to stand out, and you are going to stand out, and you are going to succeed in this AI-dominated future that we are entering now. So thanks for watching the video, and tune back in tomorrow for the next one.